Hello, welcome to another edition of Factually Speaking with your co-hosts, McCarthy Marie and I, Tim Dura. You'll remember that some time ago we did a program, one of our very early programs, on the population decline in Dominica. We outlined how the population was declining. In fact, my co-host McCarthy Marie thought it was a population collapse indeed. And we looked at the various ways in which it is affecting the country, development in the country. And one of the areas we didn't mention was social security. Not that we didn't think about it at the time, but we felt that it deserved perhaps some special mention in a special program. And so we're back today to look at social security and a declining population in Dominica. And as always, McCarthy Marie, Mac Marie, as I call him, informally on the program, is with us. And he's going to begin by taking a look at the DSS, and what its function is meant to be.
Yeah, well, just to explain to our viewers and listeners there that the Social Security system is designed mainly as a pension scheme for the population of Dominica. And it's what we might call an intergenerational transfer of income that the Social Security effects, because the persons who have worked for a period of time and then they retire, they then receive a pension. But contrary to what many people assume, that their pension, although it's related to the amount of contributions they made, it's not paid from the contributions they made. It actually comes from the contributions that the people who are currently working are making into the Social Security system. So when we have a situation where the number of persons who qualify for pensions are exceeding the number of persons who are joining the workforce, there tends to be a bifurcation of the...
What does bifurcation mean for the average person?
Bifurcation means a splitting of the possibilities of those who are working to meet the obligations for the pensions of those who are on pension. And we have found ourselves in that situation, I think since 2004 or thereabouts. If the persons who were working then would remember, in up to 2004 or thereabouts, they paid 3% of their income to the Social Security, and their employer paid 7% of their income to the Social Security. So the total payment for each worker was 10% of their income. Yes, and then in 2004, a situation arose where they were actually paying out a bit more money than they were collecting. So therefore, the scheme had to be readjusted so that the inflow would match the outflow. And the first thing that happened was, if people remember, was it went from 3% of your income to 4% of your income. We just about balanced it out. And then there was a general overhaul of the Social Security system, the way, the amount of payments you made, the age of retirement, etc. And people would remember that the decision was taken and passed in the parliament, was that to be legislated, that the retirement age would work its way back from 60 to 65 years old by 6 months every year. Okay, so started I think somewhere about 2012, that's when it started. So we now have the official retirement age for the Social Security pension is 65. Although provision is made that persons who wish to start drawing their pension at 60 can do so, but they will do it at a reduced rate per month. It's not that they will draw less pension, it's that the rate at which the pension will be paid on a monthly basis will be lower than if you waited till 65. Yes, so that's how it is now.
But Mark, before you continue, one clarification here, though. I'm asking for clarification, and that is, if the legal retirement age is 65,
yes,
and one retires at 60, and
right.
they ask for their to begin for the pension then. Okay, so it means that they will be getting, as I said, 9 plus 4, right? The amount that is owed to them will be being paid at a monthly rate over, say, 11 years.
Right.
It is 9 years if you from 65, because 74 is the age at which it is that you will die. Okay, or would have died. And then, but if you go at 60, right, it means that you're 5 years before. So that about 5 plus 9, they pay for 14 years. So they kind of prorate your payment over that period of time. But the thing, but here's the point I'm trying to make. Someone might think, well, I don't know that I'm going to live until 74, right? So I don't know that if I say wait until 65, for example, to get my pension, that I may even live to be 70. Right. So why? I mean, I might as well take it now at 60.
Get something.
Yeah, and get something. Because there are some people, for example, I have known, unfortunate as it may be, having retired perhaps today and died tomorrow, or died shortly afterwards.
Yeah. Well, the Social Security, I suppose, takes everything into account and says, well, some persons at 60, they are less able to work than some other persons. Some other persons, they at 60, they're quite healthy and energetic, and they can keep working till 65 without any particular burden on them. So they've made this flexibility where you are allowed to claim your retirement benefits at the age of 60, but at a reduced rate. So essentially, the way they've done it is to say, we will pay you pension for 9 years at a certain rate, which will amount to, let's say, $10,000.
A year. We're talking about a year.
$10,000. No.
Okay, that amount. Okay, and then they divide it into a monthly thing.
Right.
Okay.
So if you go at 65, then we will divide the $10,000 by 9 years.
Okay. Right.
If you go at 60, we'll divide the same $10,000
by 14.
This time by 14 years.
Okay, so you get less per month.
Get less per month, but effectively you will have received the same pension if you live to 60.
So that's a decision for you. Yeah, you have to take. But I get the sense in talking to people who have to go through this experience that I get the sense that they are being encouraged to retire, to begin getting their pension at 65, even if they retire at 60,
Yes, because that makes it, the Social Security have more money to pay those who go at 65. Because if you go at 60, something money has to go out right away to you. If you wait till 65, you keep paying in, and you're getting nothing out yet. So everybody, those who are already on pension, their pension is more secure.
So in other words, if you retire from one job at 60, you could, depending on your health and so on, go into another job until 65 or until 70, what have you, and continue to work, and contribute. Yes.
Fully retired and drawing your full pension.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So our situation is, in my opinion, such that the Social Security, from the figures we have here, it's showing that the difference between contributions that are coming in and obligations which the Social Security has to pay out are about equal. And in some years, in point of fact, the contributions that have to be made and paid out exceed the revenue that is coming in from contribution.
Right.
And the difference is made up from revenue basically that has been earned from investments that had been made previously.
Okay, so let's take a look at some of the figures that support this declining, revenue, right, or the declining difference between the income and the expenditure of the DSS, and then after that we will look more specifically at the investment,
Right.
aspect of DSS's operation. Right.
Okay. So here we have some figures here. The financial highlights from the 2020 report of the Social Security that shows that in 2018, contributions, which is to say the money that's taken out of your salary and plus what your employer adds, came up to a total of $58,113. That's 2018. 2019, it went up to $63,896,000. And the difference there is mostly because actually the amount of contributions people were asked to make in 2019 was higher than in 2018. So it went up. Okay? And then, however, in 2020, the amount of contributions that were collected fell to 62,174,000. Just about a million less. And we know that in 2020 it was a special year in the sense that that's when COVID began. For the first 3 months of the year, things were basically normal. And then from end of March on to the rest of the year, the hospitality sector, for example, in which quite a lot of people are employed, effectively was shut. So there were employees who were not receiving salaries for for at least 9 months in 2020. Therefore, it's not surprising that the contributions received in 2020 were less than in 2019, even if the rate at which it was being collected was higher. Yes? And then the investment income has been kind of steady between these 3 years here, 15 million and almost $16 million. Yeah, investment income. And I was saying, this investment
that the investment income was for a period or just a year?
It's for the same period. Each thing here is for a year.
For a year,
right?
yes.
So in each year, they had investment income received.
Right, and for each year it was about 15 to 16 million. Yeah.
It
Okay.
didn't change much.
All right.
Okay? And these investments here some of them would be investments that had been made early in the life of the scheme. Because when the scheme starts, everybody who's working pays in. But very few people are drawing out because virtually nobody drawing any pension. Okay? And the payments that will be made will be for maternity benefits, sickness benefits, injury on the job benefits, etc., which is relatively small. Okay, so the Social Security would have an excess of cash which they put to work to generate revenue. Okay, and some of those investments obviously were good investments because they've been producing returns pretty steadily over the period. Yeah, some of the investments, of course, quite a few I would assume would have been in safe investments like treasury bills and bonds from the government and so on. Yeah. So that's basically the two sources of income really that they have there. And then they have a category there of other income, which in 2020 was about 40% of $1 million. It was a little higher in 2019.
Well, what is the 40% of $1 million?
Other income.
Oh, other income, yes.
Income,
Okay.
which would be all sorts of things, I would assume, penalties, etc., as well as probably income on loans that could have a student loan operation as well.
Right.
So they might have been that might be included in there as part of the other income, the interest income that they earn there. So their total income in 2018 was $74,444,000. Yeah, and in 2019 it was $80,812,000. And then in 2020, the total income fell by about $2 million to $78,310,000. Yeah? And their total expenses, for example, in 2018 was $70,041. In 2019, their total expenses went up to $73,834. And in 2020, it went up again slightly to $74,730, which meant that their surplus, or they call it net income, if you like, in 2018 was $4,919,000, essentially, let's say $5 million. And in 2019, they had $6 million, almost $7 million as a surplus.
In what year? 2019?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yes.
2020, sorry,
Right.
it fell to $3 million and a half, basically, net surplus.
Right.
More revenue than they expended.
Right.
Okay?
So this place is...
The important thing to note there is that the contributions and the long-term benefits were almost pretty much matching. And in some years, the contributions were a little less than the long-term benefits.
Yeah, I noticed in the 2016.
That it's the investment income that the Social Security is having that's really keeping the operation solvent.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, and then but then the figures that you have mentioned sort of raises the question, right, of the DSS's ability to invest as its revenue continues to decline, right? Compared to its it has continued to decline compared to its expenses, right? Expenditure.
The ability to invest has diminished,
right?
Because what is available to invest is the surplus, the amount of that you collect that you collect more of than you spend. So if the amount that you are collecting
is less than what you spend,
the difference is getting less and
right.
less. Your ability to invest is declining for the future.
Right.
So the revenue which will derive from present investment will be less than what you are getting from previous investments that were made.
Right.
When Social Security would have had a larger surplus because the outflow of revenue was so much smaller.
Right.
Yeah.
So it means this if you will safeguard, if you want to call it that you were able to get from investing your resources, your surplus. That as I said, is diminishing. And it will probably just disappear, right?
Right.
And so it means that the DSS is in a very serious situation right now.
Right.
Okay. So in that case, given the situation that you've just outlined and provided some figures to support that, what is the way out for the DSS right now? I mean, what can be done?
They have a number of options. They can do
both in the short term and in the long term. Yeah. Right.
But there are a number of options. One of them is to push the retirement age back a bit. For example, in the United States, I think the full retirement age is 67. Yeah, and we are at 65. So and we live rather long in Dominica, by the way. So there's possibility of pushing it back to 67 for the full retirement age.
But we'll both agree that's a short-term measure.
Yeah.
Right.
Because part of the problem being that these people who do that once, and then if the people who are replacing them in the workforce is a smaller group, then the possibility of keep on paying the pensions becomes burdensome on the present working population. For example, when up till the 1990s and so on there, the workers were paying 3% of their income towards Social Security. which meant that they had 97% of their wages to spend as they like, to buy more beer or better things than beer, as the case might be. However, when it goes up to 7% of your income, you now have only 93% of your income to spend on, the usual thing to spend on for life.
Right.
So your standard of living will tend to be decreased. Yes, so I don't think it would be practicable or feasible to propose, particularly in this period of time with inflation and so on, that the Social Security would increase the
retirement
contribution that the workers who are presently working would make. I don't think that would be a feasible proposal. The only thing they could do is push the age backward. And of course, you can always push the age back. You get your pension 2 days before you die.
which I don't think, that if people understand what's happening, will accept.
Right.
Right.
So in the long term, and as a more, you might say, permanent remedy, is to encourage immigration into Dominica, particularly of young workers who have 30, 40 years of work ahead of them before they'll be entitled to the pension. Yes? Because the way our population is structured now, and as we saw in our previous program, the ages at which the women are having children and the small numbers that are being born, we don't expect that the workforce will be able to be increased by Dominican women and the people who are presently in Dominica who are childbearing age to make any difference to change that around, to make the workforce larger in the future. So I think we have to seriously consider setting up a system to get young workers here to Dominica who will be able to work and contribute to the economy generally and to the Social Security themselves. Because they, of course, will be promised, the same promise will be made to them, that you pay in during your working period life, and at the end of your working life, you'll be entitled to a pension. Yes? That I think is, in the long term, the way we can rebalance and the situation and make the Social Security do what it has promised to do, which is to guarantee every worker who has contributed a pension sufficient that he can live his life as a pensioner.
Yeah, but I would think that given the way the Social Security operates, and the fact that it's dynamic, because right now the median age, or the age at which people, not median, but the age at which people generally expected to die, or the longevity, right, is measured in terms of 74. But that could change, as people become more conscious of how to live healthy lives and so on.
Actually, it can change in both ways. It can change in the fact that more people live longer, because
that's the point. That's the point.
200 years.
Right. That's the point I was going to make. Well, that is true, but we're not. If it goes backwards, then that's not a problem. What I mean is, if people in the context of what we're discussing now, if people die at a younger age, it's not going to be an issue for Social Security, is it?
Well,
no.
Sort of, yes, because it depends what the younger age you're talking about.
Well, no, I'm talking. Well, we're not talking about. We're not talking about dying at 30 or 40. Right. We're talking. Maybe 74 to 70, or that kind of thing. Right. But if they do begin to die, or people begin to live longer, then it certainly is going to be. It's going to be an issue. It's going to be a problem. Okay.
Social Security, for better or for worse, depending on what happens.
Right. Okay. All right. So,
but we would all wish that we all live.
Yes, absolutely. And so this is something that I suppose Social Security must bear in mind. And the thing is, you did mention bringing in workers, right, immigrants, right, to work essentially, because if they're not working and they're not contributing, then they're of no use in context of the issue that we're discussing. So to work, but don't you?
The point I was really making about the age there is that if a child is born in Dominica, the Dominican society takes care of his living expenses up till he's able to work. Okay, which includes paying for his primary school, secondary school, between his mother and his parents and so on, and the rest of us, we pay these expenses to bring the child up. Whereas when an immigrant comes here who is 20 years old, we didn't spend that money on him, and he's now ready to work. So he is, in a sense, an asset that adds to our productive capacity immediately without having been dependent on that. Yeah.
Right.
So in terms of trying to get people into Dominica as immigrants, we should be trying to get young immigrants who have 30, 40 years or working life ahead of them before they will be entitled to their own pension. You know.
Okay. All right, but it seems to me too that keeping Social Security alive, you know, and effective has to be done with a combination of things, you know.
Yeah.
That you try to find ways of growing the workforce, you know, to ensure that contributions keep coming in, but you also have to consider that people, you would want to ensure that you can invest as well. So you'd find ways. So when you have a good workforce with you know regular and significant contributions, and you're making surplus, then you want to invest that properly to ensure that you bring in additional funds. So when the time comes, because I would imagine it's a dynamic thing that you will never have everything being consistent and good all the time. So you want to ensure that you put the organization and the system in a position that it can ride out any difficult period that it encounters.
For example, as we've seen in the figures here, the surplus that the Social Security has is like $5 million basically for these 3 years there. What do you say, $5 million? That surplus, when in 1976, 77, 78, etc., was a lot larger.
That's right.
Right, and that's when they had enough money to invest in many different things. Like one of the things, assets that Social Security has quite a lot of is real estate, which of course can be liquidated to meet some of these expenses that they have to meet. The problem with liquidating those assets is that you can only liquidate them once. You liquidate it and you essentially eat at your capital, so to speak. There is no revenue to be had in the future from that capital because it no longer exists. So although they can liquidate some of their assets to ride out a couple of years, that's not a viable strategy to say we will sell all the assets we have and we will have enough money to pay our obligations. We have to get income, revenue coming in, stream, right? Because to use a technical term, an asset is a stock, but the pensioners are interested in stock of things that are fixed and so on. The pensioners are interested in flows.
Right.
Okay, the flow of income.
That's right.
Revenue. That's what the pensioner.
I want my check at the end of the month because that's what I'm depending on to to live. Pay my bills and everything. Yeah.
That's what keeps his lights on.
That's right.
That's what buys his medicine. Because pensioners are big consumers of medicines.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So you need cash. You need money.
Right.
So the business of getting in enough revenue to cover your expenses of operating the scheme, plus pay all the obligations which you have promised the pensioners and other persons who draw smaller benefits like maternal benefits, which has been dropping, I would assume.
But the facts and figures you've been presenting would suggest that, right? Unless, of course, they're not right, unless they're wrong.
Right. Unless, of course, you could always raise the amount of the maternity benefit.
All right.
But beyond that, the fact that there are less people who draw maternity benefits,
Right, yeah.
whatever the size of the benefit is.
Right. That's the point I was making, that the facts and figures you've been presenting indicate that there are less people bearing children, or people bearing less children, or fewer children.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. So,
all right.
Right.
Okay.
And then, there are these other benefits which people are entitled to, like sickness benefit. If you're sick and you can't work, Social Security pays your wages.
Right,
or
right.
It's a
A portion.
of your wages.
That's right.
So that you have income to spend and so on.
Right.
Yeah. But these are relatively small numbers. The major outflow from the Social Security is the pension.
Pension. Yes.
Right. That is its major purpose.
That's right.
Okay.
Viewers, you would have noticed that we are basically laying out the situation as it regards to the position of the Social Security, at this point in time. We're not in a position to speak on behalf of the Social Security, the Dominica Social Security. And so what we've done is we've invited them to come on this program. They were not able to be here today, so we thought we'd go ahead and kind of lay the groundwork for their appearance on the program, a representative or one or two of the Dominica Social Security sometime in the future, and we're hoping to be able to bring that to you soon. We're expecting someone or maybe more than one person from the DSS to be here as part of the on the DNOs of the discussion, on the DNO Factually Speaking podcast, and so we're looking forward to that. But for now, I think, Mark, this is what we would like to share with our viewers, right?
And I trust the population, the people who are listening to us, take the information we're given from the perspective of which you are giving it. If we are trying to raise the discourse that takes place in Dominica, so that people have a better understanding of what's happening in the country, and they can make better decisions for themselves, their family, and for the country itself generally.
Okay, so having said that, we would like to invite you to continue to watch Factually Speaking, and we want to also let you know that you can watch the programs that have already been produced, that have already been aired on the Dominica News Online YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and type in Dominica News Online. It'll take you to our YouTube channel, and you will find the podcasts that we have already produced there, on display and available for you to watch. So please do that and join and keep, listening, because we will let you know the next time that the DSS personnel are going to be on the podcast to share with us information from their perspective on the topic at hand. So until then, Tim Dura, on behalf of my co-host and resource person today, McCarthy Marie, asking you to join us next time.